How about this young lady? It's Darrell Howard, a communication facilitation and engagement specialist with Vibrant Communities Calgary. You're connected with all the communities.
Yeah, absolutely. So we're guiding the Enough for All strategy, which is around poverty reduction, and we're using what's called a collective impact approach, which really means we're working together with community groups, with academia, with the city, with businesses, to really tackle poverty in a meaningful way in Calgary.
And how do you connect with the community associations to work on that?
Sure, in many different ways, and one of the ways we're doing that is looking at the development of community hubs, and in some manners community associations really act as a community hub. So how do we strengthen spaces where neighbors and residents can come together either by bumping into each other or come together and form relationships and really start tackling issues that are really affecting them and impacting their communities. So
how do you do it, Darrell?
Oh gosh,
I know, eh?
yeah.
Where do you start?
Yeah, well, I'll give you an example. Just recently, we got together with community residents from the Greater Forest Lawn area, other nonprofit organizations and businesses to really tackle the issue of payday lending in our city. And so we all worked together. We went to council, to a council committee, and provided them with some recommendations on how we might tackle payday lending. And what was really powerful was the community residents who talked about their own experience and the experience they were having in their community and how it impacted their neighborhood. And what was fantastic about that is that council listened. And unanimously that committee voted to recommend our recommendations to the whole council. So that's going to council by the end of this month.
Good for you.
Great example.
So are you suggesting they listened because you went in as a class kind of thing, like a class action? You went in as a big group, a conglomerate, if you will?
And I think what we said is, you know what, here's what we can do. Here's what the businesses will do. Here's what academia can do.
You've done the legwork.
Yeah, and here's what government can do. And if we all play our part, we can make things better, make things a lot better.
Such a loaded conversation, the whole poverty, money, etc. I mean, if you take a look at industries of the world, money is the only one that infiltrates everyone. Do we have the skills? I don't think so. I mean, take a look at what mortgages are.
Sure.
Payday lending, I mean, that's highway robbery. Right there.
And so one of the neat things about this Enough for All strategy is we're tackling poverty at many different angles. So financial empowerment is a huge thing. So how do we enable Calgarians to have the financial literacy to know how to build their financial assets versus climbing into debt? So that's one angle that we take. So many different ways to tackle.
And that's really important, especially today in our city, is financial literacy, right? So what other sorts of steps are you taking to try and educate people?
Sure. So there's a number of different groups that offer programs and services. So Momentum is one of those organizations that does that. United Way is very involved in any kind of financial empowerment sort of product or program. And the other thing is we're working with First Calgary Financial to look at an alternative to payday lending that doesn't come with the fees and the charges that make taking a microloan astronomical.
We don't want to beat up on them too much, but the whole idea that we're trying to get across here is if you have a local initiative that you're trying to really push forward, are community groups like Darrell's biting off more than they can chew?
I don't think so.
Okay.
I think, like she said, working with so many different stakeholders and everyone playing their part, it makes the job maybe a bit less for each partner rather than one conglomerate.
It's a grander scale.
Yeah. And I think they're taking great steps in working with a lot of key stakeholders to get that done.
Yeah. And I think the key is to animate what different groups do best.
Yeah.
Community associations, have those local connections to their neighbors. They have, many of them have spaces, and they've built those relationships over time. That opens up the doors for possibilities.
And to think it went from a grassroots to going in front of city council, that says a lot about the power of communities, and that's why you're having this membership awareness to say, look, you may have an idea. Kate may come to the table and say, hey, what about recycling in our neighborhood or something? And all of a sudden, it blows up into something fantastic.
I mean, a great example is in Bridgeland Riverside. People said, we want to do all these projects in our homes and we don't have the tools, and thus created the Calgary Tool Library, which is an amazing initiative that the Community Association
I heard about that.
backs. And it was grassroots. It was neighbors saying, I need a saw or I need this. And now there's an organization that does that. Yeah.
Yeah, I actually talked to them when they first started out.
Yeah.
It was quite interesting how it just snowballed all together.